The hidden project. The Galactic Council had always seen Earth as a minor player, while alien civilizations like the Keth Empire and the Voss Federation controlled vast star systems. Humanity was confined to their small corner of the galaxy. The Council's records showed humans as a Class C species, clever enough to achieve faster-than-light travel, but lacking the military strength or advanced technology to threaten established powers. Commander Jake Rivers stood in the underground facility on Mars, watching through reinforced glass as the final components of Project Nightfall were assembled. For 20 years, humanity had been building in secret, while the galaxy saw them trading peacefully and contributing modest technological advances. Earth's best minds had been working on something unprecedented. The project began after the Keth Empire's ultimatum 15 years ago. Ambassador Tom Blake had returned from the council chambers with devastating news. Humanity would remain restricted to 10 star systems forever. Any attempt to expand would be met with corrective action. The alien races had spoken. Earth was to stay small and harmless, but humans had other plans. Dr. Lisa Park, the project's chief scientist, approached Jake with a data pad. Her face showed the exhaustion of decades spent in hidden laboratories. "The final calculations are complete," she said quietly. "The Nova-class weapons are ready for deployment." Jake nodded, his expression grim. Around them, the massive underground complex hummed with activity. Workers in clean suits moved between towering machines that could crack planets in half. These weren't simple nuclear weapons or antimatter bombs. The Nova-class devices worked by destabilizing a planet's core, causing it to collapse and then explode outward in a chain reaction that could sterilize entire solar systems. The galaxy had no idea such weapons existed. While alien civilizations focused on shields and energy weapons, humans had taken a different approach. They studied destruction itself, how to unmake worlds, how to turn stars into weapons, how to make space itself burn. "How many are ready?" Jake asked. 50 units, Lisa replied. Each one capable of destroying a planet within 6 hours of activation. The delivery systems are undetectable. They look like standard cargo containers. Jake walked through the facility, remembering how it all started. Earth's governments had pooled their resources in absolute secrecy. Every major nation contributed scientists, materials, and funding. Underground cities were built to house the workers. Entire asteroid belts were mined in secret. The project consumed nearly 30% of Earth's total resources, but the public never knew. The cover story was perfect. Earth appeared to be developing better medical technology and improving their space agriculture. Meanwhile, humanity's greatest minds were solving the physics of planetary annihilation. Captain Roy Smith, head of the deployment team, joined them at the viewing window. "The Keth don't suspect anything," he reported. "Their intelligence networks still think we're working on better farming techniques. Admiral Kane's diplomatic team has done excellent work keeping them distracted." Jake smiled coldly. The Keth Empire controlled over 200 worlds and considered themselves the galaxy's supreme military power. Their war fleets could glass continents, and their technology was centuries ahead of most species. But they had one fatal weakness: they underestimated humans. "The Voss Federation?" Jake asked. "Same story," Roy replied. "They think we're too primitive to be a real threat. Their military advisors actually suggested giving us more star systems because we're so harmless and useful for basic labor." Dr. Park pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy's political map. Red zones marked Keth territory. Blue showed the Voss Federation, and dozens of smaller colors represented minor powers. Earth's tiny green dot looked insignificant among the vast empires. "They're about to learn the difference between harmless and hiding," she said. Jake reviewed the deployment plan one final time. Phase 1 would begin in 72 hours. 50 cargo ships would launch from hidden bases throughout human space, each carrying a Nova-class weapon. The targets were carefully chosen: key military worlds, industrial centers, and command planets belonging to every major power that had voted to contain humanity. The galaxy expected humans to remain quiet and grateful for their small corner of space. Instead, they were about to discover that the species they'd dismissed as weak farmers and traders had spent 2 decades building the most devastating weapons in galactic history. "Begin final preparations," Jake ordered. "It's time to show them what humans do when they're pushed into a corner." As the facility's workers began their final checks, Jake looked up at the red Martian sky through the observation dome. Soon, other skies on distant worlds would burn just as red. The galaxy wasn't ready for what humanity had built in secret. The age of human containment was about to end. First strike. 3 days later, the galaxy's most powerful civilizations woke, up to their worst nightmare. Admiral Rex Caney of the Keth Empire was reviewing routine patrol reports when his communications officer went pale. "Sir, we're receiving distress signals from Keth Prime's outer defense stations. They report the planet is breaking apart." Rex stared at the screen in disbelief. Keth Prime was the Empire's capital world, protected by orbital defense, platforms that could stop entire fleets. Its planetary shields could withstand direct hits from antimatter warheads. Nothing in the galaxy had enough firepower to threaten it. "Show me," he demanded. The main display filled with images from Keth Prime. The planet's surface was cracking like broken glass. Massive chunks of continents were lifting into space as the world's core destabilized. Within minutes, the entire planet began expanding outward in a slow-motion explosion that consumed everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. 12 billion Keth citizens died in 6 hours. Rex's hands shook as similar reports flooded in from across the Empire. Keth 7, their primary military academy world, gone. Keth Industrial Complex Beta destroyed. The Empire's 3 largest shipyards wiped out. In a single day, humanity had eliminated 30% of the Keth Empire's military infrastructure. But the Keth weren't the only ones suffering. General Val Ross of the Voss Federation received emergency reports from 17 different star systems. Every major Voss military world was under attack, but not from enemy fleets or orbital bombardments. The planets themselves were dying from within, torn apart by forces the Voss couldn't understand or stop. The weapons were invisible until activation. Standard cargo containers that had been delivered months ago through normal trade routes suddenly revealed their true purpose. Each container opened to deploy a device no larger than a personal vehicle, but containing technology that could unravel the fundamental forces holding a planet together. Ross watched in horror as Voss Command Center Beta, the Federation's strategic headquarters, collapsed into itself before exploding outward in a burst of energy that sterilized 3 neighboring star systems. 20 years of military planning and defensive preparations became worthless in 6 hours. "How is this possible?" she whispered. "What weapons can do this?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Every major news network in the galaxy received the same transmission simultaneously. The signal was powerful enough to override all normal communications and displayed a simple message in every known galactic language. A human face appeared on screens across hundreds of worlds. Commander Jake Rivers looked directly into the camera with calm, cold eyes. "This is Commander Rivers of the Human Defense Initiative," he began. "For 15 years, the Galactic Council has kept humanity confined to 10 star systems. You told us we were too weak to expand, too primitive to be trusted with more territory." The transmission showed footage from the destroyed worlds, planets cracking apart, star systems going dark, entire civilizations wiping out in hours. Today, you learned the cost of underestimating humans. We spent 20 years building weapons you didn't think were possible. While you focused on shields and energy barriers, we learned how to kill planets. Jake's expression never changed as he delivered the ultimatum that would reshape galactic politics forever. The human species demands full membership in the Galactic Council with equal voting rights. We want unrestricted expansion rights to any unoccupied star systems. Every trade restriction against human goods will be lifted immediately. Behind him, displays showed the locations of hundreds more Nova-class weapons, already positioned throughout the galaxy. You have 72 hours to comply. For every hour you delay, another world dies. We've already proven we can destroy your capitals and military centers without warning. Don't test our resolve further. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Within minutes, emergency sessions were called in every major government. The Keth Empire's surviving admirals screamed for immediate retaliation, but their scouts reported something terrifying. Humanity's home systems were now protected by defensive platforms that made their previous technology look like children's toys. The Voss Federation's intelligence networks, considered the best in the galaxy, admitted they had completely failed to detect the human weapons program. Their spies had been watching farms and medical research facilities while humanity built planet killers in secret underground cities. Smaller alien civilizations began broadcasting surrender messages to Earth before the 72-hour deadline even began. They had seen what happened to the great powers and wanted no part of humanity's wrath. The species that had been dismissed, as harmless traitors had just demonstrated, they could end entire civilizations with weapons deployed from simple cargo containers. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted forever. Galactic shock. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 800-year history. Representatives from 47 species crowded into the Great Chamber on Neutral World Sanctuary 1, their voices creating a chaos of fear, anger, and desperate planning. Council leader Vel Kane, a tall figure from the ancient Tor species, struggled to maintain order. The Tor had founded the Council centuries ago and prided themselves on diplomatic solutions, but nothing in their experience had prepared them for this crisis. "The humans have committed acts of genocide," shouted Admiral Rex, his blue Keth skin darkened with rage. 57 worlds destroyed, billions dead. This cannot stand. General Ross of the Voss Federation stood to respond, her normally composed demeanor cracking under pressure. "And how exactly do you propose we retaliate? Our intelligence reports indicate humans have positioned these weapons throughout the galaxy. Every world we care about could be destroyed within hours." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others proposed negotiation. The smaller civilizations, terrified of becoming collateral damage, begged for any solution that would prevent more planet killers from activating. Dr. Zen Park, the Council's chief scientist and member of the peaceful Ori species, presented the technical analysis that silenced the room. "We've studied the debris from the destroyed worlds," he announced. "The weapons use a technology we don't understand. They somehow destabilize planetary cores by manipulating fundamental forces." He activated a holographic display showing the weapons effects. "The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Our best estimate is that humans have developed a way to temporarily alter the strong nuclear force that holds atomic nuclei together. When applied to a planet's core, the result is inevitable collapse followed by explosive expansion. The implications were staggering. No known shield technology could stop weapons that attacked matter at the atomic level. Traditional defenses, energy barriers, deflector fields, armored stations, were useless against devices that could make planets tear themselves apart. "How long would it take our scientists to develop countermeasures?" asked Ambassador Lux of the healer species. "Doctor." Park's tentacles drooped with despair. "Conservative estimate? 50 years. Optimistic estimate? 20 years. The humans appear to be decades ahead of us in theoretical physics." Meanwhile, on Earth, Jake Rivers monitored the council session through intercepted communications. The Human Command Center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, hummed with activity as Earth's leaders watched their enemies struggle with impossible choices. President Maria Santos, elected leader of the United Earth government, joined Jake at the main display. "Any signs they're preparing military action?" "Some are trying," Jake replied. "The Keth have mobilized their remaining fleets, but our deep space monitors show they're keeping their distance from human territory. They know we have defensive planet killers protecting our worlds." Dr. Lisa Park approached with updated intelligence reports. The Voss Federation is attempting to locate our hidden weapon caches, but they're searching in all the wrong places. They still think in terms of traditional military bases and obvious strategic positions. Jake smiled grimly. Humanity's approach had been completely different. The Nova-class weapons weren't stored in military facilities or guarded installations. They were hidden in commercial shipping containers, abandoned asteroid mines, and even inside the artificial moons of several major worlds. Some had been in position for over a decade, disguised as industrial equipment or scientific instruments. The council session is entering its 16th hour, Lisa continued. Intelligence suggests they're deadlocked. The military species want war, but the economic powers are calculating the cost of fighting an enemy that can destroy planets without warning. The truth was that humanity had gambled everything on this moment. Earth's entire strategy depended on the galaxy's leaders being rational enough to negotiate rather than risk mutual annihilation. If the major powers chose revenge over survival, the coming war would destroy civilizations across hundreds of star systems. But humans had studied their enemies carefully. The Keth Empire, despite their warrior culture, were ultimately pragmatic. They wouldn't sacrifice their remaining worlds for the satisfaction of revenge. The Voss Federation prized their economic networks above military glory. The smaller species were too terrified to support any action that might make them targets. "Sir," reported Captain Smith from the communications station, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the council chambers. They're requesting direct negotiations with human representatives." Jake exchanged glances with President Santos. After 20 years of secret preparation and 3 days of demonstrated power, the galaxy was finally ready to treat humanity as equals. "Tell them we'll send Ambassador Blake to Sanctuary 1, Jake ordered. "Full diplomatic immunity and recognition as a sovereign power. No more restrictions, no more containment." The age of human expansion was about to begin. "Negotiations and revelations, Ambassador." Tom Blake walked into the council chambers with quiet confidence, flanked by 2 human guards whose presence sent ripples of unease through the assembled delegates. 20 years ago, he had left this same room carrying news of humanity's permanent containment. Now he returned as the representative of the galaxy's newest superpower. Council leader Vel Kane called for order as Blake took his position at the speaker's platform. The chamber, designed to accommodate dozens of different alien physiologies, felt smaller somehow with the weight of unspoken threats hanging in the air. "The Human Federation requests immediate recognition as a Class A civilization, with full council voting rights," Blake began without preamble. "We also demand the immediate lifting of all territorial restrictions and trade limitations previously imposed on human expansion." Admiral Rex of the surviving Keth forces stood abruptly. "You commit genocide and then make demands? Your species has murdered billions of innocent civilians." Blake's expression remained calm. "The Keth Empire has glassed 4 dozen primitive worlds in the past century. The Voss Federation has enslaved entire species for labor. Every major power in this room has blood on their hands." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The difference is that we targeted military and government installations. We could have chosen civilian populations instead." The truth of this statement was undeniable. Analysis of the destroyed worlds showed that humans had precisely targeted military academies, fleet command centers, and strategic resource facilities. Civilian populations had died in the planetary destructions, but they hadn't been the primary targets. "Your weapons violate every treaty on civilized warfare," protested General Ross of the Voss Federation. "Treaties we were never allowed to sign," Blake replied. "You can't exclude a species from galactic law and then expect them to follow rules they had no voice in creating." Dr. Zen Park of the Ori species activated a holographic display showing galactic territorial maps. "If we grant your demands, humanity would have access to over 300 unclaimed star systems. That level of expansion could destabilize regional power balances." Blake smiled coldly. "Stability was lost the moment you decided to permanently contain a species capable of building planet killers. You can either accept controlled human expansion through diplomatic channels or watch us take territory through demonstrated force. The implicit threat was clear. Humanity had proven they could destroy any world that opposed them. Negotiation offered the galaxy's best chance of limiting human expansion to peaceful means. Council Leader Kane attempted to find middle ground. Perhaps we could discuss a gradual expansion program, 20 star systems initially with additional territories granted over time based on demonstrated peaceful intentions. No, Blake's response was immediate and final. Humanity demands full expansion rights immediately. We've spent 20 years proving our technological capabilities. We won't spend another 20 proving our good intentions to civilizations that have already shown their willingness to permanently suppress other species. Behind the diplomatic language lay a harder truth that everyone in the chamber understood. The major powers had made a critical error in their assessment of human nature. They had assumed that a technologically inferior species would accept permanent subordination rather than risk destruction. Instead, humans had spent 2 decades secretly developing weapons that could end civilizations. Ambassador Lux of the healer species, known for their pacifist philosophy, spoke carefully. What guarantees can you offer that these weapons won't be used against civilian populations during your expansion? Blake activated his own holographic display, showing detailed technical specifications that made several delegates gasp in recognition. Humanity has developed 3 classes of planet-killer weapons, Nova-class devices for military targets, capable of precise deployment and controlled destruction, Supernova-class weapons that can destabilize entire star systems, and Genesis-class devices that can trigger chain reactions across multiple solar systems. The Genesis-class weapons were theoretical nightmares that most species believed impossible. The idea that humans had actually built devices capable of destroying dozens of star systems simultaneously sent waves of terror through the assembled delegates. We currently have over 200 Nova-class weapons positioned throughout the galaxy, Blake continued. 50 Supernova-class devices protecting critical strategic positions, and 12 Genesis-class weapons whose locations will remain classified for obvious reasons. The numbers were staggering. Humanity had built an arsenal capable of ending galactic civilization as they knew it. Your compliance with our demands ensures these weapons remain unused, Blake concluded. Your refusal guarantees their deployment. The choice is entirely yours. Council Leader Kane called for a recess as delegates huddled in urgent conferences. The galaxy's major powers faced an impossible decision: grant humanity equal status and unrestricted expansion rights, or risk a war that could destroy hundreds of worlds. For the first time in galactic history, the threat of mutual annihilation had become a diplomatic tool. New Galactic Order 6 months after the destruction of 57 worlds, the galaxy had settled into an uneasy new reality. The Emergency Council session had lasted 18 days before reaching a unanimous decision. Humanity would receive everything they had demanded. The Human Federation now controlled 43 star systems, with expansion rights to any unoccupied territory they could successfully colonize. Human trade goods moved freely through galactic commerce networks without restrictions. Most importantly, Earth held a permanent seat on the Council's Security Committee, with full voting rights on all military and territorial matters. Admiral Jake Rivers, now promoted to Fleet Commander of Human Defense Forces, stood on the bridge of the new flagship Earth's Resolve. Through the viewport, he watched construction crews finishing humanity's first deep space military base in the former neutral zone. The base's design incorporated both human engineering and carefully selected alien technologies acquired through their new diplomatic status. Status report, he requested from his aide, Captain Roy Smith. Expansion Fleet 7 has successfully established colonies in the Kepler 442 and Kepler 438 systems, Roy reported. Both worlds are showing excellent potential for agricultural development. The Voss Federation lodged a formal complaint about our proximity to their trade routes, but the Council ruled in our favor. Jake nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy's major powers were still adjusting to the reality that humans could no longer be bullied or contained. Every protest about human expansion was met with polite diplomatic responses and subtle reminders about the weapons that had changed everything. Dr. Lisa Park joined them on the bridge, carrying data tablets filled with reports from Earth's research divisions. "The technology exchange programs are exceeding expectations," she announced. "The Ori have shared their medical advances in exchange for our quantum physics research. The healer species wants to trade their biotechnology for our materials. Science, the irony wasn't lost on any of them. The same civilizations that had dismissed human science as primitive were now eagerly seeking access to the theoretical breakthroughs that had made planet killers possible." "Any intelligence on countermeasure development?" Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. "The Keth Empire's best scientists estimate they need at least 30 years to develop effective defenses against Nova-class weapons. The Voss Federation is focusing on detection systems, but they're still searching for weapon signatures that don't exist in their databases. The truth was that humanity maintained their technological advantage through continued innovation, while alien civilizations struggled to understand the weapons that had already been deployed. Human scientists were developing even more advanced systems. The galaxy's balance of power wasn't just shifted, it was permanently altered in humanity's favor. On Sanctuary 1, the council chambers had been expanded to accommodate Earth's new diplomatic mission. Ambassador Blake now sat at the high table reserved for major powers, participating in decisions that affected hundreds of worlds across dozens of star systems. The current debate involved trade disputes between the Keth Empire and several minor species. Before humanity's rise, such discussions would have been dominated by the established powers imposing their will on weaker civilizations. Now every proposal had to consider human interests and potential responses. "The Human Federation supports unrestricted commerce between all council members," Blake stated during the proceedings. "Any attempt to impose trade barriers based on military threats will be considered an act of aggression." The implicit message was clear. Humanity would use their technological advantage to protect smaller species from the bullying tactics that had once been used against Earth. The galaxy's traditional power structure, based on military strength and technological superiority, had been turned upside down. Council Leader Kane privately wondered if they had simply replaced one form of domination with another. The humans spoke of equality and free commerce, but their planet-killer weapons ensured that their definition of fairness would prevail regardless of other opinions. Back on Earth, President Maria Santos addressed the United Nations General Assembly, a speech broadcast across human space. 6 months ago, humanity was confined to 10 star systems and treated as a minor player in galactic affairs. Today, we stand as equals among the great civilizations of the galaxy. She paused as applause filled the chamber. "But with this power comes responsibility. We must prove that humans can lead not through fear, but through the same ingenuity and determination that gave us the strength to break free from artificial limitations." The speech was carefully crafted for multiple audiences. Human colonists needed reassurance that their expansion would continue. Alien civilizations needed to understand that humanity's goals extended beyond simple revenge or domination. The galaxy wasn't ready for humanity's rise to power, but it was learning to adapt. The species that had been dismissed as harmless farmers and traders now held the ultimate veto over galactic affairs. The age of human containment was over. The age of human leadership had begun. The end.